So now I'd like to invite Daniel to talk about water quality monitoring.
Great. So I'm sort of the default presenter on this one because our planning meeting didn't have so many folks at it. And there will certainly be more folks involved in this, I believe, coming after this session, we hope. The water quality group has taken a look at sort of a variety of time sequences of what can be done. And because this is a network and because it's really more about an information exchange than about doing a major project together, we have characterized it in terms of these three sort of time duration approaches. The first one is short term. And this is really, can we collect information right this year on the water quality effects spatially across the whole state, wherever there was recharge conducted, to take a look at trends in groundwater quality associated with known recharge sites. And we heard about DWR's work on this, as well as the State Water Board. This is something they're looking to compile that information. As a network, we're pushing to make sure that happens and offering to provide assistance in assessing that or helping to define the questions that should be asked of that data. So that's the first most urgent thing that we feel. And if we get rains again this next year, that still falls into that short term. Let's collect the data from publicly available sources, from NGOs, from water districts, from GSAs that are collecting this information. It can be anonymous. We just want to look at what are the trends. Because one of the big questions about water quality is, are we actually creating benefit out of putting all this groundwater into the ground for water quality? Or are there places where it drives worsening conditions? So we want to just get a first high-level sense of that. The other is some of the members of the water quality team are engaged in micro scale, in-depth analysis of multiple contaminants, comparing different types of recharge. So Helen Dahlke is working with Don Cameron on a very in-depth project, also with Scott Bradford. So there's some really good in-depth studies which will help us calibrate some of this broader understanding of trends to make better sense of what those mean. And there's a need for those site-specific studies. And the network is just trying to make sure we all know what's going on. And one of our questions for all are some of you doing some of that work too. And then the long-term goal with both of those initial approaches is, what can we build in the way of benefit risk tools? So that as landowners or GSAs or districts are thinking about doing recharge in specific areas, what's the potential risk or benefit that can be achieved through doing recharge in those sites? And that really looking at what sort of nutrient loading and leaching is likely to occur, what's going to happen to pesticides in terms of their fate and breakdown, to start to have some general guidance towards folks to what they should be thinking about in implementing recharge. The next steps are then from those are obviously to identify which contaminants and specifically pesticides. One of our team members is really able to work on this. Are you still here, Annette? I'm not sure if she's here today from DPR. Oh, there you are, thanks. To take a look at pesticides, that's something the network really has not done much on. And also identify the considerations for managing and mitigating those contaminants under flooded conditions. You know, what would be the management conditions that we should be thinking about? A lot of that leads into developing a risk analysis tool, but also sort of thinking about what type of recharge do you do? Are you spreading it across the landscape on agricultural lands? Are you doing recharge basins or ponds? Or are you injecting down below the crop root depth? Those could all be influenced both by agricultural management, but also geogenic materials that could potentially be mobilized. And then compile that data so that agencies and others can update and develop their relevant best practices, guidance, and models. And then